What's up, everyone? Bryan here from Xact IT Solutions, coming at you with another edition of our Who Got Hacked and Attacked this week. And on the front of the videos here, we have very few cyber attacks to talk about this week. Not because cyber attacks stopped or because something great happened this week. It's just because a lot didn't get reported publicly. And I would venture to say that based on the news and the recent news coverage that's been occurring, businesses are reluctant to really come out with this stuff. But we monitor the dark web and we monitor other areas, and we know that this stuff is still occurring at a prevalent rate currently, and there's been a huge uptick in the last month or so, like our videos have highlighted in the past. So in this edition of this series, we are going to get into a few attacks that happened in the last week or so. Actually, in the last couple of days, we've already covered some earlier in the week, like e-research technologies and other attacks that have happened. There's been a few schools that have been attacked we're going to get into, but I'm going to get into an attack that is not public. We don't know who the company is, but one of the forensic people or somebody involved closely with it put some information out on the blog that I'm going to go through to kind of educate everybody on how these things actually go down. Without further ado, before I get into the videos, I want to get into some housekeeping items, which is that we don't get paid to do this channel. We don't ask for anyone to pay us. We don't charge a fee. We give out this information and we try to make everyone more cyber aware, because this is how we believe cybersecurity is going to get better, is through educating people and making them aware of what is going on out there. So if you are educated or you like anything that you see in this video, or you're entertained in any way, our only fee for that is to request that you like this video, you check out our other videos, subscribe to our channel, or share our videos on your social media and let people know that this channel exists and they can protect themselves by the information that we're giving, and they can educate themselves about cyber attacks and how to protect not only themselves personally, but maybe how they can help their company where they work do a better job around cybersecurity. So without further ado, now let's get into the videos. The first one, really the only attack that we're going to talk about in this video this week that's publicly named, is the Springfield, Massachusetts Public School District. They have canceled online classes after an alleged cyber attack. This occurred on October 8th, and it says that more than 60 Springfield public schools shut down remote learning after a cyber attack affected the school district's IT network on October 8th. Yesterday, the second largest school district in Massachusetts, offering classes for over 25,000 students, announced the cancellation of virtual classes due to network system issues. Somebody was quoted as saying, "Due to the issues with our network, school and remote learning activities are canceled for the remainder of today, Thursday, October 8th, Springfield Public Schools said in a tweet. We also know today, as of the 9th, the classes have been canceled again on the 9th. According to Bleeping Computer, which cited a source in the cybersecurity industry, the network disruptions were due to a ransomware attack discovered on the morning of October 8th. Although officials have yet to disclose additional information on the attack, Superintendent Daniel Warwick issued a comment on the security incident, and he says, "Out of an abundance of caution, the Springfield Public Schools have issued an early dismissal from school today and have temporarily suspended remote learning due to potential threats to the network that have been identified." Early this morning, Springfield Public Schools identified a potential threat to their IT network. To ensure that the district can effectively mitigate the potential incident and restore access to all software and services as quickly as possible, school and remote learning activities are canceled for the remainder of today, Thursday, October 8, 2020. It is anticipated that the risk will be cleared and resolved in the near future so that remote learning may continue. And then the article goes on to say, while it remains unclear if the cyber attack has been fully contained, the latest Springfield Public School Post announced that remote learning will resume on October 9th. So, you know, here's another school that was taken down by a cyber attack. Again, we've highlighted these in the past with K12 schools. They're a huge target right now. They know that these entities will quickly pay the ransom because they want to get school back online. They don't want teachers unable to do their jobs, and they don't want parents beating down their door because their children are not learning and progressing with their education. So this is going to be something that we continue to see throughout this year and into 2020. It's either going to be a ransomware attack or a denial of service attack against K-12 schools. That's what we've seen in the past 3 or 4 months. That is what is getting the attention of the school district administrators and what's causing them to pay out money or react to the situation. So I am going to get into a little bit in a minute, a little bit in the video too, just a heads up that there are targeted attacks against teachers that are happening in schools, and I'm going to share some information about that too, so stay tuned to the video for that information. So going into I don't know what happened now on my screen. Going into this latest attack that we have, there was an interesting article, or there was an interesting post put on a blog about an anonymous company, and I just wanted to kind of go through this timeline that they posted to quickly illustrate to you that hackers are getting on corporate networks. They're staying there for days before they might do something, or before something that they do is detectable. And this is a perfect example of that. And if you watch my other videos, you've heard me use the term move laterally or move across a network. And that's effectively what this illustrates and highlights, by very skilled hackers that use specific tools to perpetrate and further attacks. But this particular attack, as you see in the timeline, day one, it started with a bizarre malware was executed. Now, I've read this report, and the malware came in through a malicious email attachment that an employee clicked on. So that was the way in, the door in. Now, when the employee clicked on it, you know, a lot of people think that when they click on emails, or when they click on an attachment, we've heard this before from many people, where they'll go, oh, I clicked on this attachment, but nothing happened. So they think that they're okay. Like, the ransomware box didn't pop up right away, so they think they're okay. That is not how this stuff goes down. And I want to make sure that everybody kind of knows that this is not how it works. I'm dispelling the myth of how people perceive the ransomware attack that is happening, how it actually goes down. It doesn't happen. Now, it can. Don't get me wrong. It can happen immediately, but it usually doesn't. Usually, there's some kind of payload or a metasploit that's downloaded to the computer that you don't even know is there. It's hidden, and that allows the attacker to connect to a machine on the network. You don't know this is happening. It's happening behind the scenes. We are going to do a hacking demo on this channel very soon, and we will show you on both sides of the screens what the hacker sees and what the person maybe using the Windows computer, your employees, what they would see, which was pretty much nothing. But nothing would be evident to the user when this happens. So they, on day one at 16:37, the malware was executed. It shows that it was executed from this IP address, and then just maybe 11 minutes later, they started running domain discovery commands, which meant that they started to collect information about the network so they could use that information to further their attacks. Then at 1706, the registry discovery commands were launched. And again, this is just collecting more information about the network, what's available to them, what can they use to further their attacks. More domain discovery and network checks and domain controllers. So they're just probing around again. They're poking. They're seeing what they can find. 20 minutes later or so, 15 minutes later, add find used to map Active Directory. So now they're trying to figure out how their Active Directory is laid out, what's going on the network, how they can gain control of it. And that was the last of it for day one. And then on day two, you see the times here, 1849. So you're talking no activity for 24 hours. The end of the day happens and the hackers go to work. So we go 1849. They check again for domain trust and AD find using the malware that they loaded on day one. They pull down files using FTP exfiltration, and they pull the files from the computers that they've successfully infected, and they pull them down to their own server. Just under 2 hours later, they then go to the first lateral movement in the network, meaning they go from one device to another device. So they were able to use the information they collected in the previous steps to then move laterally in the network, transfer files via SMB, which is how you connect your computers to other computers and your file shares and things like that on your network. It says that appears to fail, and the threat actor tries several other payloads. So they try to load other payloads on the network to further the attack. So they just say, you know what, screw it. 11 minutes later, they're going in, they're bringing in Cobalt Strike, Cobalt Strike beacon to run on a beachhead host. If you don't know what Cobalt Strike is a tool that white hat hackers, meaning people that are on the good side of cybersecurity, we use these tools to figure out where there are vulnerabilities in the network. It's important to know that the people who make Cobalt Strike monitor who use their software, and they try to really restrict who can get their hands on it because it is such a powerful tool. However, these tools are out in the wild. There's unlicensed versions out there. That is probably what this was being used in this case. But Cobalt Strike is a very powerful tool. It will allow you to do a lot of things on a network. And if you can get this successfully deployed inside of a network, you can pretty much take over any machines. And as you see, as I walk you through this, it doesn't take them very long to take Cobalt Strike from its initial inception here on the network at 9 p.m. at night or so, and they go 5 minutes later, they go their next lateral movement attempt via a service in PowerShell. So they write a registry key, and that appears to have failed. But then, just a few seconds later, they are able to launch a Cobalt Strike beacon transferred via SMB and run by a service. That's their first successful lateral movement. Now they've gone from one computer, the original computer that was infected, to another computer in the network. And they've done it in a matter of about 26 hours. So they sat on the network, they figured out what they had at their disposal, and then they used these tools that are available to them to move across your network. The other thing about Cobalt Strike is it's really hard to detect. It's not going to get picked up by antivirus software. The only way to really know if Cobalt Strike is being utilized on your network is to use a lot of zero trust and make sure that your network is monitored to a point where if certain things are happening at hours of the day when they shouldn't, then you're alerted or somebody knows that this is occurring, because a lot of this is normally found out in forensic investigations after the fact. So, there are tools out there that will tell you, hey, somebody's doing something on your network at 9 o'clock at night. And, if you set up certain alerts and rules correctly, you can be notified that there's something going on at your network at a time when nobody should be on the network. Or at least if one or two people are doing something late at night, it gets flagged and you can look into it and ask maybe an employee, hey, were you using this log on at this time, or were you doing this activity at this time? And if the answer is no, then you have to look into this problem. So there are ways you can detect this if you do cybersecurity really well and you implement the tools that are out there. But a lot of companies aren't doing this stuff, just to be quite frank with you, and that's how these things go undetected. So as you can see here, between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock, continual lateral movement activity using Cobalt Strike beacons via SMB across the environment. So they're able to then move Cobalt Strike to other computers in the same way that they were able to go from computer A to computer B. Now they're going from computer B or computer A to computer C, D, E, F, G, servers, what have you. Now they have a lot of control over the network at 2143. Windows Defender begins to be disabled using PowerShell commands. Again, this is another red flag for me when it comes to cybersecurity. Don't allow PowerShell to be run on the systems. Like, if you don't need PowerShell, if your basic users, if a secretary in your office who just uses Word and email, they don't need PowerShell in their system. Get rid of it. Get it off of there. Disable it. Don't let it run. And things like this can't be moved laterally across your network. 2145, day 2. First Ryuk ransomware executable transfer to a backup system. They went after the backup system first. They were able to execute the Ryuk on the system, on the executed host, and then at 2150 to 2210. So in so you're talking from 5 minutes from when they got the backup system ransomware, 5 minutes later, and it only took them from 950 to 1010 to Ryuk ransomware the entire enterprise. So you're talking less than 25 minutes. 25 minutes, less than a half hour, it took them to figure out how to disable the antivirus, kill the backup system with ransomware, and then deploy ransomware to the whole entire system. And it was transferred via SMB and executed using RDP connections, which, another problem here is your RDP connections on all your systems should be disabled. There's no reason to have them open. If there is a valid reason, you need to make sure that you're monitoring and protecting those connections as best you can. In this case, it doesn't appear that was happening, and they were able to use all these lacks in cybersecurity, as I call it. They were just being lackadaisical about things, and that's why they were able to perpetrate this attack and successfully deploy ransomware throughout an entire organization in about a day, a little over 24 hours from when they initially got the malware on the system at 4:30 in the afternoon. So I hope this gives you an idea of how these things work and how they actually go down. So I wanted to make you aware that this is how Ryuk actually gets deployed. It's not as easy as you would think, but if you're really good and you know what you're doing, you can get it deployed, and you can get it deployed fairly quickly. And the ransom demand in this case was I do believe they go in here and say it, but it was $6 million is what they demanded for and I'll link to this article in the description, so if you're anyone that's really interested can check it out. But it was $6 million that was asked for by the attackers. So moving on, not to spend too much time in that area, teachers and administrators, please be aware of a new technique hackers are using to target teachers. This showed up from Proofpoint researchers who are warning that they're seeing this in early phases, but essentially it says, hello, the email, and this would be to a teacher at a school. Hello, I'm so-and-so's mother. Blank, she's told me that she wasn't able to upload her assignment the usual way you guys do it, and told me to email you the assignment. She was very rushy about me sending this over via email since she didn't want to be marked late, so here it is. Hope she's doing well in classes. And it's a zip file attached to an email. And I just want to make sure that school districts are aware of this, because it's a pretty clever attack. Now, this can happen a couple ways. Emails can be spoofed, or a parent's email can be hijacked. And it's very easy for a hacker to hijack it today and go in and say, oh, well, I'm in this person's email, it looks like they're corresponding with a teacher at school, let me attach this malware to a message that I'm going to send the teacher and make it look like my child's turning in an assignment. And if a teacher doesn't know any better, she's going to open the zip file and open the files included in the attachment, and then they're going to get ransomware, or they're going to get a payload that downloads on the system, and then the school is going to be in trouble. So I just want teachers and school districts, please be aware of this. Be aware that you could get an attachment which looks like a legitimate email from a parent. We're seeing this a lot. We're seeing an uptick in this to enough where the FBI and CISA has released warnings about this. So it is becoming a prevalent practice for hackers to try to make victims of school teachers and school districts. So one last one I want to get into is election time. Election time is coming, and I just want to make sure everyone's aware of spoof websites, website domains, and emails exploiting the 2020 elections. This is another warning from FBI and the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. CISA, you hear me refer to them often. We follow them. That's where we get a lot of our information on warnings about what's going on out there and vulnerabilities. But they go in to say they issued a joint warning to help Americans spot spoof election-related domains and email accounts that subject them to risk of cybercrime and disinformation. And basically what they go in and they talk about is look for domains that are spoofed. So, let's just take, the two presidential candidates. If you happen to go to Donald Trump's website, you want to make sure it actually is Donald Trump's website and not some change to the lettering, like, it could be TROMP and you just don't notice it, or BIDON or BIDIN and you just don't notice that they changed the name of the person, or it's not evident, or they might put a dash in the name somewhere, like so-and-so dash for president, and you may think it's their legitimate campaign site and it's not. So they do give you a website, and I will link this in the description as well. A website you can go to check the official sources for each campaign. I think they do this at almost every level of government. So I'll include this article which links to that CISA website that shows you the election websites that are legitimate. And then Tesla, on top of it again, they nailed an employee for allegedly sabotaging operations at a California-based factory. So basically, their cybersecurity team over there at Tesla noticed someone on their network. It goes in to say that 2 weeks ago, our IT and InfoSec team determined that an employee had maliciously sabotaged a part of the factory. It said Tesla's legal chief, Al Prescott, said in a company email their quick actions prevented further damage and production was running smoothly again a few hours later. So the employee admitted to it. They don't go into too much detail about it, but they do link it to the previous thwarted attack that the FBI and Tesla thwarted about 2 months ago, where there was a Russian national arrested for trying to exploit another Tesla employee. This could be a similar case where somebody was asked to do something by a threat actor, somebody on the inside of Tesla. And I wanted to bring this to your attention because this can happen in your company, and it's really important that you're aware, and don't kid yourself and think that every single employee that you employ wouldn't be susceptible to something like this. Money talks, people's situations are tough, financial situations are tough, and if they're offered some kind of windfall for doing something like this, it's a real threat to businesses, and they need to be aware of it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it went a little long. I wanted to cover that Ryuk deployment ransomware in detail, so everyone would have a really good understanding of how this stuff really goes down. I do hear it often where somebody says, oh, I clicked on something and nothing happened, when I just showed you that this is what happens. Like, they're behind the scenes doing all kinds of stuff that you don't see or really know about unless you have the right people and tools that are looking for it. So I hope you learned something from this video. If you have, please like our videos, and please subscribe to our channel. Don't forget that we are giving away a $200 Amazon gift card to anyone who subscribes to our channel during the month of October. If on November 1 is when we're having the drawing, so if you're subscribed to our channel on November 1, you will be part of that drawing. Now, if you don't share that you publicly like a certain page or something like that, you can drop a message in the comments saying you'd like to be entered, and we will enter you in the contest. And then we'll reach out to you through YouTube to try to connect with you to get you your prize. And you have to be 18 years old and a U.S. resident in order to qualify. So I hope everyone enjoyed this video. Like I said, if you need any help with cybersecurity, head on over to our website at www.xitx.com. Click on the contact us. Let us know how we can help you. I hope everyone enjoys their weekend, and we will see you all very soon.